Hi guys, welcome back, and I just want to do a short lesson on practice habits, okay? So before we move on, and we're going to take things a step further and learn trickier chords, harder rhythm patterns, and ultimately some really cool songs, we need to know how to practice well, okay? So this comes down to two things in my opinion. One is understanding that anytime you play chords, you should also be playing rhythm. These two go together like strawberries and cream or any other thing that you think goes together, okay? Now, they do so because pretty much like I said, anytime you're going to be playing chords, realistically, in real world scenarios, you're also going to be strumming something, okay? So it makes sense to get used to doing the two together from day one, exactly as we've been doing, okay? So I'll talk a bit more about that in a second. Now, the second thing is also the amount of time and basically sensible time, practice-wise, okay? And if we just talk about that first, now what that means is that you can sit down for an hour and try and practice this stuff, but really it's probably not actually the best way to practice. Especially, you know, we all know, and I know from having hundreds and hundreds of students, that time is hard to find, obviously. So, you know, you might just have half an hour in an evening or maybe an hour at the weekend or whatever to try and do some practice, and you need to use it wisely. So for me, actually, the best form of practice is small amounts regularly. Okay, so even if you can just do 10-15 minutes, if you do it every day, that is going to be far more useful than a big hour-long practice session once a week or a 2-hour-long session once a week. If you want to do those sessions, then that's great, but make sure you do the daily sessions. At this stage of learning the guitar, your hand's going to get exhausted pretty quickly. There's nothing super exciting going on. So you're not quite at the point where you're learning songs. We're not doing anything more than just kind of changing through the chords. So to practice for an hour doing that is going to be pretty hard work. Okay, so what I'd suggest is do one of the exercises that we've been doing. Take the chords, okay, put them with a rhythm, and then practice it for around 5-10 minutes until your hand really just cannot do any more. Then take a 5-minute break, you know, just be stretching out, just be listening to some music, doing whatever, and then come back and do another 5-10 minutes. And that is amazing. It's absolutely amazing how in that 5 minutes break, you will be improving, okay? And then when you come to do it again next time, actually it's all gonna feel a whole lot easier than it did when you started. Okay, and it's crazy, when you're a beginner, your progress is going to happen so fast that even in that 5-minute gap, it just allows some kind of brain function thing to happen and muscle memory in your fingers to just work and develop so that when you then come to do it again 5 minutes later, everything just seems a little bit easier. And that's going to happen every single time you do it until you're absolutely fine running through the rhythm and the chords. So there's the first bit. Make sure that you practice little and often and take small breaks when you are practicing, okay, to allow the kind of muscle memory to kick in. Now, when you are practicing, it's all about combining chords and rhythm, right? So as often as possible, I'm always looking to get a drum beat on or some kind of, when we get to it, the audio files that you'll have available and the songs and everything else, and making sure I'm playing along to something, because that's going to really enable my rhythm to develop, okay? You can't really develop rhythm very easily without that stuff. Okay, because there's no one keeping you in time. You could be going all over the place for all you know because you haven't developed the ear for it quite yet. So that's why these metronomes, drum machines, songs, audio files, these are all here for you. Okay, so best thing to do is take as many chords as you've got, pick a chord chart. Okay, so like we did in the previous lesson. So let's just say, for example, E major to A major. Get your drum machine on, put it at a beat that you're comfortable with, and then try and push that speed up, okay? So I'm gonna do my rhythm pattern with my chords like this. Then I'm gonna go to A major. So I've decided in this 5 minutes, this is what I'm gonna practice. And I'm just gonna go around and round these two, okay? Now, of course, you're limited to this rhythm pattern at the moment. That's absolutely fine, this is tricky, but we will advance that rhythm pattern later. Practice this for 5 minutes, okay? Once you've finished, come back to it, and what you might want to do is actually, well, I'll tell you what, let's try 75 BPM instead. Why not? Let's go crazy. After a bit of a break, you'll probably find that you can do it. 3, 4. and so on and so forth. So if you're ever practicing chord changes, you're also doing rhythm. If you're ever practicing rhythm, so when we learn more and more strumming patterns, be sure to just throw a couple of chords together at the same time. That's how you practice, and that's how you get good quickly. Okay, so hopefully a couple of useful tips for you. Next time what we're going to be doing is taking things a whole step further, and we're about this close now from playing our first song.